Turning knowledge into gold. Hey, hot topics from the soul. Hot topics from the soul.
Well, good evening and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and I'm so excited. Yes, I'm so excited. We're still in Women Empowerment Month, but every day, not just limited to one day a month, we're empowering and inspiring lives across the country, globally, nationally, you name it. Women are powerful beings, and tonight is no exception for one of my guests. Fallon MK. She is a domestic violence survivor and mental health advocate. I'm going to bring her to the stage. Fallon MK, how are you, my queen?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I am awesome. I'm awesome. I was drawn to you. We connected through social media, and you are tearing up the internet with your
Yeah.
story of survival and resilience. And this show is You Are Enough. Because one of the things that I know as a survivor is the enemy, that mind, that inner being always wants to destroy you and tell you that you are less than. Can you
Yeah.
share a little bit about who you are, please?
Yes. My name is Fallon MK. Um, I was born and raised in Durham, North Carolina. I have two other sisters, with my mother and my father, and my parents divorced when I was 4 years old, and I was born with medical issues that stem from my mother having complications. When she was having me, she became paralyzed when she was having me, and um I was told that it was something that happened during the medications that she was given, when she was in labor with me.
Mhm.
And so I was born with seizures. I had you know learning challenges in my childhood, and my father remarried in June of 99, and my great grandparents on my dad's mother's side, would help with me and my sisters, um, because my mother is from Virginia, so she does not, she didn't have a big connection here in North Carolina like, a lot of people have.
Right.
And so she moved here, um, right after college. She moved to Durham, North Carolina, to get a job at Duke Hospital, and then her and my father hooked up and got married and had us. And so all through childhood, my mother would go to church. She would, take us to church with her. We grew up in the church, and I would praise dance and sing in the choir. And my mother did a lot of work in the church. Like, she used to do the follow up committee for people who used to get saved, and she did the prayer line. She, worked in the nursery. I did praise dance. I did singing. I went to Sunday school, and we just had our own community of supporters in the body of Christ. And um, I was fortunate. Like, even though I didn't have my father, I was fortunate to have a network of people that wanted to see me um thrive and do well. And and in June, no, I'm sorry, in October of 94, I was hit by a car while leaving school with my sister.
You
We
were
were
walking or you were in a car?
we were walking across the street to get on the
Mm.
bus, and somehow she made it across the street, and I didn't, and I was hit um from the left side by a car that was speeding really fast. And one of my childhood friends' stepfather, who was a janitor there, um immediately came to my rescue, and um he helped me to make sure that I didn't move, because I felt numb, and I couldn't feel my legs, I couldn't feel my hands or anything. I felt
Mm,
numb.
wow.
So I went to the hospital, and I was out of school for 6 weeks, and during those 6 weeks my mother had somebody to stay with me for 6 weeks until I was able to go back to school. And you know, after my father, got married, I was, you know, it was a void. Even though that we had our great grandparents to help, I still had a void in my heart that was not filled.
Hmm.
So, um, one night in February of 2000, me and my friends, we were curious, and we caught the chat line. Um, and I got hooked up with a 29-year-old, man from another state. He was living in North Carolina with his relatives, but he was born and raised in another state. Um, he was 29 at the time I was 15,
Wow.
and yeah, and we decided to get into a relationship, and for 6 months, everything went well. He wasn't um acting, any type of way. He treated me like I was royalty, and he made me feel like I was the only one in the world that mattered. And his wife was back home in their home state.
So he was
Well,
married.
yes, he was married, and he was living up here with some of his people in North Carolina.
So
And
they were legally separated, or he just was creeping.
I think he just was living separately. I don't think they were legally separated. I think he was just creeping.
Okay.
Yeah, and for 6 months, we were good, and after 6 months, he started being abusive. He started being controlling. Um, and so a year went by before my mother knew anything about it, and the only way she found out was because I finally told her. I said, "Mom, even though I'm 16 now, I'm in a relationship with he was at the time he was 30. He was 30 years old, and I told her, that we were dating for a year, and I told her that we were together, and she was against it right off the bat, and she made us in things, and she said he was too old, and I told her that we were planning to have a baby together, and she was against it. And so he some time passed before he decided to break it off of me. And when he did break it off of me, it was bad. And I
Yeah,
was
because it was
hurt.
basically your first love. That was your
Yes.
first experience of love in a relationship with a man. And he became also that father figure you had looked up to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like so after we had broke up, he still would call and check on me. Um in the beginning it was all the time, and then he would say things to me that were not right. He would brag about what he was doing and brag about what his wife was doing, or just saying things that he knew that were detrimental to me. And for a while he did it, and then he stopped for a while, and then he one day he called me again. He was like, he had a baby on the way or something like that, and then a few months went by, and then he called back and said that baby wasn't his. And I was, he caused me to feel invalidated, and I suffered from low self-esteem because of him. And aside from that relationship, I was also in other um abusive relationships too. And all the way up until I moved out of my mom's house. I was even laced with drugs by one of my ex-boyfriends one time. And so when I managed to um m- maneuver through those relationships, I never took time to heal anything. I just kept going. And I think that was my problem, was that I kept going and I didn't take time for myself. I didn't take time to heal. I kept going. And so when I got to be when I turned 21, no, I'm sorry. When I turned 22, I met my the man who I legally married. And we dated for 3 years before we got married. And after we got married, um our our um our kiddo was our kiddo was born. And we had her, and things you know were going pretty good until um 4 years ago. I suffered a tragedy that caused me to um lose my ability and desire to be intimate with him anymore. And because of that, he started, acting out. We started arguing, and things started happening between me and him. And he just did not understand the impact that what I was going through 4 years ago. And it caused him to just not treat me right. And so um almost 2 years ago, my first love, I'm sorry, almost 2 years ago, my first love re-entered my life. He found me on Facebook. And um, in the beginning, I was not wanting to be with him, because he is the reason why I suffer from
Low
relationship
self-esteem.
anxiety. I suffer
Hmm.
from relationship PTSD. When I'm around him, I start shaking, and like I feel nauseous, and it's like my body is telling me, to get away from him. and and I told him that. And so we kept talking. Then my husband, we separated in June of 2023. And I kept talking to my first love and telling him how I felt, but he wasn't trying to hear it. And he even took me out to eat one day, and my kid out to eat one day, and he saw how I acted when we were there. And um so I had to move from my home recently, because I found out he was stalking me. And um in the beginning, I thought maybe he was just wanting to see the community where I lived at. And I found out through um the messages that he was sending me, I finally put two and two together and found out he was stalking me. And so I had to involve myself with the local center that for domestic violence and sexual assault here in Wake County. And they just gave me tools to use, to protect my safety, because he's threatened me several times, in messages. So I really, have to be careful, when I go out. And I really have to be careful when anything I do out in public. I have to be careful.
Mhm.
and he has me scared. And you know,
Well, one of the things, and you were sharing your story and how you reconnected with your first love. You know, I hear on television all the time when they're talking to when parents are saying that their child is communicating with individuals on social media and they've been exposed and been predators and things. So um, what makes you want to connect or even respond to an individual that you know that is toxic in your life?
because me and this man have shared a bond together for 24 years, and um like even though I know that he's harmed me, I still, you know what I'm saying, I still love him. Like I still, have feelings for him. And I know I might sound crazy to some people, but that's basically what it is. And it's like now it's more higher on the spectrum now than it was when I was younger, you
Mhm.
know. And that's why I'm saying, I've been getting therapy to help me work through these issues that I have with him. And it's been like this for decades, and it's like now I still like my feelings for him is even more now.
Hmm. Now, I see one of the things that you talk about is being a mental health advocate. And I can understand why you say that you're an advocate in helping individuals that have
Right.
mental illness because everything is a process. People always say, well, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do that.
Hmm.
Because I stayed in my marriage for 19 years.
Yeah.
It was like 5 days shy of being married for 19 years. So I just go ahead and say 19 years. And people say, well, why would you do that? Why would you put yourself through that? You're smart, you're intelligent. Why would you do that? But, people can't see the
Mm-mm.
picture if you're
Mm-mm.
actually in the frame. Until you actually go through that situation, you won't understand from the outside looking in.
No, sure
But
won't.
one, but my
No.
message that I have to everybody is that you are enough, regardless of what individuals say about you. Because sometimes it's the inside. Your
Right.
family and your
Mm-hmm.
so-called close friends will beat you down for the choices and decisions that
Mm-hmm.
you make. But it's hard when you're in a situation when you're in a mental clone cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to break out of
Yeah.
it and say, and shake yourself. But one day you will shake yourself and say, enough is enough.
Yeah.
So,
Cause like, yeah,
mhm,
yeah. Cause like when I would be, when I was 15, my mother worked at Duke Hospital for almost 45 years. So it's like when she was at work, I would be home alone to, do whatever. And I guess that's how I end up where I am right now.
that we have individuals that are listening in, and one of the listeners, Meg Green, she was saying that you know you have to have a plan. Think of a
Right,
plan of escape, and don't play small, basically.
right.
Because one of the things that I found and what happened to me was I didn't have a plan. I
Mhm.
just knew I needed to get out of that situation and I had to do it quickly. So that's why I wound up being homeless. And here in South Florida, they didn't have the means to assist me in
Oh wow.
the escape. And not only that, I had no idea what I was in. I didn't know it was called domestic violence because when, like I
Mhm.
said, when you're in this cycle, yeah, I
Right.
was with this man for 17 years at that point, and it was just going round and round and round, and I was trying to like hold on to my sanity because pieces of you chip away when you're in domestic violence situation.
Right.
It chips
Right.
away at your self-esteem, your mental resolve. You can't see things clearly. You can actually say to a be looking at someone that's going through the same thing you're going through, and you have a solution for them, but you don't have a solution for yourself.
Right.
So it's so easy for it to happen and for you to find yourself in a situation like this. But one of the things that you said was that you sought out help because you recognized that there was a problem, there was an issue. So, how important is it for individuals to
Yeah.
find some
Hold
type of help?
on 1 second.
Okay, so she dropped off. She'll be coming back on. But one of the things I know for certainly is when you are a victim of domestic violence, the enemy inside will always chip away to diminish who you are, to think you're not worthy, but you are enough. You're fearfully, wonderfully made.
Right.
And one of the things that the abuser does is chips away at you because he knows how fabulous you are.
Yeah.
He knows how wonderful you are. He knows how smart you are. And if he can get you or any of you ladies that are listening in, if he can get you to bow down, then they feel big. They feel like they've succeeded and being that king that they want to be. Men always want to be kings, but a king protects, a king loves, a king does not destroy. So they've gotten the writing wrong. They read the wrong script of what a king actually does. He loves and protects, not destroy or kill.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
Now I'm a domestic violence I'm a certified domestic violence advocate, and I'm a certified narcissist abuse advocate as well.
No, talk about that. What is that?
A domestic violence advocate,
Not narcissist.
narcissist abuse advocate, they are the people that help people who are overcoming narcissistic abuse. And we just make sure that the survivors have somebody to lean on.
mm, okay, that's good. So, what made you start studying mental illness as part of your recovery and wanting to give back even in the midst of your opposition? You're still trying to empower yourself and empower others.
Because I just want to help other people overcome what I'm overcoming and have overcame, and I just want to help um heal other women, you know.
Yeah, healing is always a slow process, regardless of who
Right,
you are, male or
right,
female. It's
right,
always a slow process because it took me years, even after I was free and I was thriving, living my life, traveling around the world. Um, I still would have residues of fear
right.
and anxiety, and there
Oh
would be
wow.
little triggers.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are triggers that will set you off. That's one of the reasons why it took me almost 18 years before I married again, because of the fact that I had 4 children. I wanted to make sure I put them through school. And one of the things I purposed was that I was not going to have my sons be a product of their environment, of what they had experienced. I worked on that. So I think that is very important to also share with those listening or maybe going through a domestic violence situation, is that when you're going through it, and you have children, they're going through it with you. So they're going
Right.
to have emotional turmoils. They're going to be unsure of themselves or wonder if this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way love is supposed to act, and it is not. So
Mhm.
I wanted to make sure
Right.
for my daughters that I set a rule, I set a standard. And, ladies, when you're dating, do not expose your children to your male friends that you're dating. Do not expose them to it until you know it's the real deal, because if you're traumatized, they too get traumatized.
Yeah.
So your daughter, through this process, how was she
Hmm.
handling it and surviving through this and watching you go through this? Because I'm sure it was hard
Right.
watching it.
Yeah, she's doing well. She's 11 and she's, doing she's doing well. I'm proud of her.
That's awesome. So, what was with some tips that you would give to individuals seeking to escape? And I want to say to those that are going through situations, you've got to ask for help. And you
Right.
asking for help doesn't mean that you're weak. It means that you want to remain strong. There are
Right.
people that can help you and that are in places where they can support you and in escaping. Here's a domestic violence hotline that you can call. It's 1-800-799-7233. um, you could just you can Google anything you want now. So, domestic violence hotline, and also the national hotline for mental illness. People think mental illness is you walking around in the street going crazy, pulling your hair out, um, falling out, screaming and acting, straight. But mental illness comes in many shapes, many forms. And, sometimes not being able to cause that shift in your life is a mental illness. There's a mental blocking that goes on
Yeah.
where you can't see clearly because it's like a film over your face where you can't make right decisions. So, even in that, seeking out mental illness organizations can help walk you through that. Have you found that to be the case?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
have.
Okay. Chanda Love says that why do we label victims with mental illness because they are not in survival mode or coping with the abuse?
Yeah. Now, see, here's the thing: with my first love, when I'm dealing with him, I'm always in survivor mode. Because now, um, even though he doesn't say things to me like he used to, um, I'm always in survivor mode when it comes to him because I never know when he's gonna bite.
Hmm. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Been there,
Yeah.
done that.
Mm-hmm.
Always on the defense. I would wake up not knowing what the next move would be.
Right.
It was like, okay, what's the next step here? I was always in survival mode, saying, if he acts this way, then I have to counteract and do this. Always walking on eggshells. And
Yeah.
the question that Miss Chandra asked was also, you know, why do we label the victims as having mental illness when
Right.
that person, that the abuser, he is actually the one with mental illness? And it is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
They
It sure
actually have
is.
a mental illness, that Tarzan Jane mentality that they want to throw on the victims is because they have mental illness problems themselves. They have things going on with them. Sometimes it stems from their childhood, it's learned behavior, and it's many different
Yep.
ways that it comes and it shows up. And a lot of times, we that are the victims, the reason why we sympathize with them is because of the fact that we see the good side
Right.
and then
Yeah.
we see the bad side, and
Yeah.
we long for that good side to stay in manifestation. But that bad side overpowers us, and it's just like when your child is misbehaving and they're being bad, and you chastise them, and then they become that loving child that you bore into this earth. It's that type of reality that we're facing while we're in the midst of this situation.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's 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 almost like a cloud. It's something that you can't hardly reason or understand the why. But it is not
Absolutely.
healthy. It is not
Yeah.
healthy to have anyone overpower you, or take away your will or desire for you to function normally. That's what the abuser does. And My co-host, I don't know why he hasn't popped in. Dr. J.R. Thicklin, he's asking a question. Okay, Dr. J, one of the reasons is that it is reversed because the moan movement oftentimes is early days and did not want to give the abuser. Dr. J, you need to chime in. But anyway, yeah, domestic violence has different faces and there's different, approaches individuals like, because every situation is different. There is, we have a roadmap of what we can use to help individuals get out of the situation and empower and inspire individuals to embrace a larger vision of themselves, to know that they are enough regardless of what the abuser says. You're
Right.
more than enough. But the, um, but the situation is that when we're going through this situation, when we're actually in the midst of it, you have to have the courage to raise up. What motivated you? My children motivated me to take courage. What was your motivation of courage?
Myself, and I wanted to be strong for my daughter as well. You know,
Hmm. So, how important do you think that is for you, having a child? Do you think if you didn't have your daughter that you would have kind of remained in this situation?
no, I still would have changed for myself.
Hmm. Now, the situation with your husband, was the affliction of abuse the same as the your long time
It was
relationship?
abuse. It was abuse, but not on the same spectrum.
Okay.
Not as not as serious.
So, do you think it's because the love for each was differently? What functioned different? Because it seemed like when you were married, that relationship was shorter than when you with your, because it was your first love, you know.
Right.
It was your first love. People say what they will, but that has great impact on how you live out the rest of your days. It can make you or break you. And then when it makes you, it can make you stronger. And then sometimes it could break you down like it did you. And do you think that that relationship also added to the demise of your marriage?
Yes. Yes, because after our relationship ended, um, it ended with him 24 years ago. Um, every relationship after that, something always happened. It was abusive. Something always happened. So I feel like he debilitated, me from being able to um thrive in a healthy relationship. And he debilitated me emotionally because, it's been 24 years and I still have issues. You know what I'm saying? I still um have relationship anxiety and relationship PTSD as well. And I feel like he changed my life for the worse. And my issues now are lifelong.
Mm. And you went through several traumatizing things growing
Right.
up as a child. When you have your father and don't have your father, people make light of that,
Yeah,
but
they
it
do.
does it does make have some type of impact. you know
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't miss something you never had, but when you've had it and it's taken away, it does impact.
All right.
So, can you expound on that a little?
It did impact me because I've always felt close to my daddy, and like he used to come and get us for like vacations or holidays and stuff like that. But I've never had a conversation with my daddy um more than 10 minutes.
Wow.
It always was a short conversation. I've never had a conversation with him.
So basically, you longed for that tension. You love for that love. You love for the 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 relationship.
Right, right. I've never been able to talk to him more than 10 minutes. And um when he would spend time with me, that would be great. We would go places. He would take me this place and that place and give me money, but I I wanted the active phone conversations with my father as well. And he really did not um give me that. um he didn't give me that time on the phone with him.
Right.
And I barely, what I'm saying, I will only see him like maybe once or twice a year, and that's it. That's not enough.
Yeah, it's never enough when you're going through situations and circumstances like that. And, to the men that are listening, it is important. You're present when you have a child. It is your duty, your reasonable service to participate in their lives, not just for a little seconds or moments, and promise to pick them up and don't never show up. That rips the heart out of the children. I mean, I went through it with mine, and, the anger and the disappointment was so overwhelming, and I couldn't fix it. I
Right,
couldn't fix it. So, don't do that. Don't do that. If you lay with a woman and have a child with a woman, then step up and do your part. Honor your responsibility. We're getting ready to close the show, and it has been a pleasure speaking with you, Fallon. And I
thank you.
appreciate your candidness and you being open to sharing with the audience, what you're going through and growing through at this moment. And I
Right,
applaud you for that, because you are enough. Regardless of the situation or the circumstances, you are enough. Matter of fact, you're more than enough. You're equipped to handle whatever is coming your way, because
right.
guess what? You're still here. You're the
Hmm.
manifestation of the promise, and
Yeah.
you're going to be that light, that beacon, not only for women across the country, but for your daughter. Let her see you stand up in your power, in your truth. Any closing remarks?
No, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to share my story.
Absolutely. And if you want to connect with her and keep track with Fallon, I am FallonMK.com. I am FallonMK.com. That sounds powerful and strong, my
Thank
sister.
you.
Thank you for tuning and joining into
Thank
Hot
you.
Topics for the Soul. And I want to invite those of you that are listening to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Hot Topics from the Soul. Now, just because you follow me on social media does not mean that you are following me on YouTube. So please subscribe to YouTube, because eventually what I'm going to do is fade off from there and just do broadcasting from YouTube. So please subscribe. We're here because you're here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Hot Topics from the Soul.
Yeah, hot topics from the soul. Yeah, hot topics from the soul. Yeah, hot topics from the